Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Wistersill.
I'm JT Wistersill.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of From the Couch. We're here on the couch talking NFL, as you can tell by what we're wearing.
Yes.
Vikings, Steelers. So tonight, we're starting to prepare for the NFL draft, which is coming up in a few weeks. JT, are you excited for the draft?
I'm very excited for the draft. And another thing I'm excited about is it's been over a year since we've been on the couch, which has been a ton of fun. It started because you said, hey, let's do some draft coverage stuff. So it's been a great ride, and we're excited to hit the 2021 draft with you guys.
Yep, it's coming up soon. Looking forward to really digging into it. We'll have a mock draft coming up here in a few weeks as we get closer to it. But tonight we're talking team needs. We're going to rapid fire through all 32 NFL teams and tell you what your favorite team needs. And then JT will tag it, your team, when we release this video. You'll be able to click right to your team and see what our draft expert, JT, not me, JT thinks your team needs. And then we'll fill in players as we get into our mock draft at another episode. So let's get started. We're going to start with the NFC East. I'm sorry, we're going to start with the South.
Yep.
My fault. We're starting with the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers. JT, what do they need?
Yeah, made the big trade for their franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold. I do believe they're going to keep him, so cross that need off, which we all thought they were going to go there. So why not protect him? I think that's the biggest one. Get that left tackle in the first round. I think that's where they'll go. Also, a tight end. They haven't been able to replace Greg Olsen. And get another corner on the outside. I think those are the three biggest needs for the Panthers.
Yeah, definitely O-line now that they have it. And then they got to figure out what to do with Teddy Bridgewater, too, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'd imagine he's going to be traded soon, or even if they, it's hard to imagine them keeping him, but it's a tough contract to trade. Love Teddy, but yeah, he's not a starter in the NFL. He's a great backup.
All right. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, who looking good on offense. Where do they go during the draft?
Yeah, you highlighted it. Good on offense, not so good on the other side of the ball. One of the worst teams in the league in terms of sack production. Got to go along the defensive line, specifically defensive ends. Could use some safeties as well after using Keanu Neal to the Cowboys. And I know they just did their weird contract thing with Matt Ryan. I think they need to go and draft the quarterback of the future.
Okay. All right. How about the New Orleans Saints? Talk about a team in transition. What about the Saints?
Saints, they could really use another wide receiver opposite Michael Thomas. Also, another defensive tackle, losing Sheldon Rankins to the Jets. And a tight end prospect to replace Jared Cook, who also left in free agency.
Not a quarterback.
Not a quarterback. This Taysom's contract is too much. I think they got faith in him. They're either going to have a low-end starter and a high-end backup, whatever it is. So I don't think quarterback this year.
Okay. Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, return everybody from the team. Where do they draft, JT?
Yeah, hard to find team needs for the Bucs, honestly. I mean, they could go with if a QB falls to them. I think that could be a good move. Another outside linebacker just to add depth, even though they just signed Shaq Barrett and JPP. And interior offensive line, they had some injuries last year. They managed them well, though. So honestly, it's best available for the Buccaneers.
If they stay healthy, they'll be in the mix again. So
exactly.
I'm not sure it matters. So, all right. Up the coast to the NFC East we go. We're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles, JT.
Yeah, I think it's a wide receiver again. I know they took one last year in Rager, but I think he's a bust. So if Jamar Chase were to fall to them, I think that'd be a nice move. Inside linebacker as well, could really use a leader in that front seven. And another cornerback is Darius Slay, is not getting any younger.
Okay, all right. New York Giants. What do you got for them?
The biggest defensive line in the NFL last year. They could use some speed on the edges there, so I think they should go with an outside linebacker early. Continue to protect Daniel Jones on the interior of their offensive line, and they could also use another linebacker opposite Blake Martinez in the inside of that defense.
Okay. North Texas's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys could use some more help on the outside still. Trevon Diggs had a solid year, but still not enough to replace Byron Jones, especially with losing Awuzie to the Bengals in free agency. Also, a defensive end opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. They're not bringing back Aldon Smith, an interesting move, I thought. And they could use another safety on the back end. So the biggest thing for them is defense, no surprise, as they really struggled. And with a healthy Dak, they should be in the mix for the division.
That 100% means that Jerry Jones will draft offense first round. He'll go offense first round because he wants splash, and that's why they don't win. So, all right, the Washington football team. What are your thoughts, JT?
Yeah, quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kellen Moore. Kyle Allen is their other backup there. And either one of those guys, long-term answer. Also could use the left tackle of the future. Didn't really replace Trent Williams. And another inside linebacker for them. John Bostic is another guy who's up there in age, and they have a great defensive line. So I'm excited to see how this team continues to build their roster in Ron Rivera's second year.
Okay, off to the NFC West we go. The San Francisco 49ers, JT.
Yeah, I mean, they traded up to 3 for a reason, so the biggest one's going to be quarterback. That's where we expect them to go early. Lost some corners in free agency. I expect them to hit that as well. And I think they are one guard away, if they were to go guard early in the draft, from having one of the 3 best offensive lines in the NFL.
Wow, that's saying something there. So, all right, Arizona Cardinals are next.
Yeah, lost Patrick Peterson, signed Malcolm Butler, but could still use a little more on the outside. Expect them to go corner early. Also, another offensive guard. Got to protect Kyler Murray. And you know what? If Kyle Pitts somehow fell to 16, I think they could also use a tight end upgrade over Dan Arnold.
Interesting. We'll wait and see what happens there. All right, up the coast to Seattle, the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks got a few different options. One of them being, got to replace Shaquille Griffin, who left in free agency for the Jaguars, so you need another corner. Also, a right tackle, that's a position they've struggled at. Or you know what? If this marriage with Russ is really over, draft the backup. And for this year, and then next year, he can step in. So quarterback is a need for them too, I think.
Interesting. I don't know if the Seahawks will go quarterback.
Maybe they won't.
But we'll see. All right.
We didn't think the Packers would last year, right?
No, you're right. You're right. But that's a Packers thing to do, though. That's what they do normally. So, all right, the Rams.
Yeah, safety for them. John Johnson left in free agency. That's a huge. He's been one of the better safeties in the league, so they got to replace him. Haven't really had a dominant linebacker there the past few years. I'm sure they'd love to change that. And some more guys on the interior offensive line after they lost their starting center to free agency.
Okay. All right, from the Rams, good transition to the NFC North. Let's talk about the Lions, JT.
Yeah, they got Jared Goff. If it was up to me, I would take a quarterback. I don't think they will because of the contract. So the other needs, wide receiver, got to replace Kenny Golladay. Inside linebacker for them as well, Jared Davis leaving in free agency. And a cornerback on the outside to pair with Jeff Okudah, their first-round pick from a year ago.
All right. Staying in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think similar to Ryan Pace here because I still think they need a quarterback. I don't understand why you go Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, long-term answers. I think they should still be in the hunt for one cornerback to replace Kyle Fuller. And they could use another wide receiver, too, because it just doesn't seem like Allen Robinson, even though he was franchise tagged, is long for this team.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the Packers.
Yeah.
JT, what are you thinking there?
You know, wide receiver should be at the top, but we all know they're not going to do that. So I put it at third in my needs. It would be one if I was the GM. Inside linebacker for them as well. Christian Kirksey, they had to cut him. He just didn't give him a lot of production last year. And another corner on the outside as well. I know they did re-sign Kevin King, but he struggled a lot in coverage last year. But this Aaron Rodgers still covers a lot of warts for this team, in my opinion. So there's a couple different directions they can go.
You don't think they'll go wide receiver with their first pick?
I mean, they didn't go in all set. Honestly, it's more likely they don't select one in all 7 rounds like they did last year, which is stupid in my opinion, but they're stubborn up there.
Yep, we'll see. Okay, tell us about your Vikings, JT.
Yeah, for the Vikings, it starts in the trenches. First, the offensive side. Got to protect Kirk Cousins. Offensive tackle and offensive guard could both use an upgrade there. And on the other side of the ball, getting a pass rusher opposite Danielle Hunter, who's coming back from injury, is really key for them. But I'd be surprised if the pick wasn't in the trenches.
Okay. Yes. The Vikings need to draft linemen. Yes, they do. All right, that's it for the NFC. Quickly, we're moving on to the AFC. As you can see, we're rapid fire tonight here. We're starting with the South and the Urban Meyer-led Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you got there?
Urban took this job to select his quarterback of the future. Of course, that's a huge need for them. They could also use their kind of quarterback of the defense, as some say. The safety position is another area they could use an upgrade. And a dominant tight end. It'd be fun to see if they could get someone in there that forms a nice repertoire with Lawrence in that first year.
Okay, all right. The Texans, another team in transition. What's going on there?
That could be all, honestly. They did so many Band-Aid signings in free agency, but big ones to me are 3-4 defensive ends, kind of what J.J. Watt played. They lost out on him. Another wide receiver after losing Will Fuller, still haven't replaced DeAndre Hopkins. And they traded their stud linebacker, Benardrick McKinney, to the Dolphins, so inside linebacker could be something else as well. But like I said, I mean, it could be best available too.
Yep. All right, a team I see improving for this fall, the Indianapolis Colts.
Absolutely, and I think a huge step of that improvement is replacing Anthony Costanzo, their longtime left tackle who retired. So I expect them to go left tackle early in the draft, and then on the other side of the trenches, got to get some youth on the defensive line, especially at that pass rusher spot, and could also use one more corner on the outside, a position they've had some success drafting, but they drafted the guy Rocky Sin, who's been very up and down. So, but I totally agree with you, very close to contending.
Okay, all right. We're still in the South with the Tennessee Titans.
yeah, they shredded their secondary trying to cut salary cap. So you got to think they're going to go corner early. Also had to cut 2 of their offensive tackles so they could use to get a right tackle in there with Taylor Lewan coming back from injury. And another wide receiver after they lost Corey Davis too. Another good team, but one with a few of those holes just because of the salary cap restrictions. They were one of the many teams affected by it.
We're moving to the AFC East, which is, I would say, one of the most intriguing divisions.
Yes.
Who knows what's going to happen this fall? So it'll be fun to see what happens here in the draft. We already know there's been a lot of transitions within the division already. But let's start with the Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets are one of the ones where we do kind of feel like we know where they're going at number 2. It's going to be a quarterback, so that's the obvious need there. Could use a dominant corner on the outside as well. That's something I expect them to look into. And they could use a running back. The Le'Veon Bell experiment failed, so maybe even get a guy like Travis Etienne in there.
Okay. All right. The New England Patriots and all their changes so far.
Yeah, they love their versatile linebackers there who can rush the passer and play on the inside. So I expect the linebacker to be the pick there. Could also use a safety. Devin McCourtney's not getting any younger, and you could use a partner next to him after Patrick Chung's retirement. And still a quarterback. I'm not ready after what I saw last year to say Cam is the long-term answer in New England. So I think quarterback's very much in play for them.
Okay. Down the coast we go, the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, this team, they did a great job once again in free agency of filling a lot of their needs. This rebuild, Flores continues to do a great job there. I think they do need a defensive end, though. They did trade, in that trade I mentioned earlier, Bernard, they got McKinney, but they let go of Shaq Lawson, so could use another defensive end. Also a star running back. A lot of people have liked a running back like Najee Harris to them at 17. And another offensive tackle there as well. I think on the right side especially, as Austin Jackson showed nice flashes for them last year at that left tackle spot.
If Tua can be the type of player they want him to be, that's a dangerous team right there, I think. So.
Absolutely.
All right, and the team that won the division last year, the Buffalo Bills. Tell us about them.
Yeah, the Bills, I love Trey White on the outside, Tre'Davious White, but I think they could use another corner opposite him. Also need to get younger at the defensive end spot. Got 2 veterans out there who could definitely use some quicker guys to pull in for them. And even defensive tackle. It's a very veteran-laden defensive line, so I think if you get some young guys next to the Ed Olivers of the world, that would make this team even deadlier.
Okay. All right, good stuff there. We're off to the AFC West. Stopping in Denver first with the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos are in a great spot. They're kind of the sleeper team that people think could trade up for a QB. I think that'd be a great move if one of the top guys falls. Also, I think this is a team that could look for the long term when it comes to that cornerback position because they've got a lot of veterans back there as well. And even a place like a linebacker, I think next to Josie Jewell out of Iowa, a guy who's done well for them, get the guy next to him. But this is another team that they were worse last year. They could go worse to, I was going to say worse to first. It's hard with the Chiefs there, but I really like Denver's roster.
Okay. Here's another team on the up, I think. The LA Chargers, sorry. Tell us about them.
Yeah, the Chargers could really use that left tackle. I think just continue to protect and build around Justin Herbert. Also a defensive end opposite Joey Bosa. They have yet to re-sign Melvin Ingram. And another corner as they were forced to let go of Casey Hayward. But as you said, this division's really good in general. Another team that's on the up and coming.
Yep, absolutely. All right, off to Vegas for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, they ended up releasing LaMarcus Joyner, one of their safeties, so they could use another safety to pair next to Jonathan Abram. Also, a more explosive defensive tackle to give them that interior pass rush. And I think they could use a right tackle after trading away Trent Brown as well. This is a team that really gutted their offensive line, so I'm interested to see if their philosophy changes at all because they were so built on that dominating running game. And I don't know if they're going to be able to open the holes they were able to last year for their stud Josh Jacobs in the backfield.
Yeah, good call there. So. All right, as we talk about the Chiefs here, obviously a lot of changes on their O-line, and they still have the skill guys, but you got to have the trenches covered. What are they going to do, JT?
No, absolutely, and I think they've done a good job in the early portion of tackling the interior of the offensive line, but they got to get the tackle spots right. Yet to replace Fisher or Schwartz, so I expect those to be early positions for them. Also, linebacker Willie Gay, their second-round pick last year showed some flashes, but I think you want to get someone a little more consistent next to him, and another defensive end to flank Frank Clark would be a nice move for them as well.
Okay. All right, our last division of the night, where my Pittsburgh Steelers reside. We're going to start, though, with the Cincinnati Bengals. Usually in the basement. What about the Bengals, JT?
Yeah, the Bengals, you know what? Everyone's talking about wide receiver, and tight end. And you know what? I have those as needs. But in no way is that a need over offensive tackle. Get your franchise left tackle of the future. I'm going to throw a guy out there, Penei Sewell. I think he's generational talent there. I just think it'd be insane. So offensive tackle is the biggest need for them by far to me. But in the second and third rounds, look for a wide receiver and tight end.
Okay. All right. Tell me about my Steelers. What do we need, JT?
I'll say what I think, and then you can push back on these if you want. I think offensive tackle, yet to re-sign Villanueva. That's the big one to me. Could go guard as well, as you saw some warts last year in the offensive line just overall. And I think that guy at running back, I've told you many times how much I love Najee Harris and thinks he'd be fun in a Pittsburgh uniform. But my needs for your team all revolve around the running game. What do you think about that?
Have to be able to run the ball. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
We're the meanest, toughest team in the land, so we got to be able to run the ball. We need to draft offensive line. I want an offensive line. I'm not hung up on the running back situation. I'm not sure that there is a generational talent running back here, so I want to be aggressive on the O-line. Let's stay there. So we'll see. And our last team of the night, everybody's least favorite team, the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, actually, we got the Cleveland Browns really quick.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Everybody else's least favorite team. Let's talk about the Browns.
I was going to say, of course, you want to forget the Browns after how their season ended last year. But the Browns, another team that have done so well in free agency, grabbing John Johnson and are in good position for the draft. I think they do need their guy at inside linebacker. That's the biggest need for this team. But I do think Myles Garrett kind of covers up some of the warts they need to address. Definitely need to get a defensive end opposite of Garrett. By the time this video comes out, they actually could sign Jadeveon Clowney. That's a big rumor going around right now. But also losing Larry Ogunjobi to the Bengals, so they got to get that defensive tackle spot right too.
Okay. And the Ravens, GT.
Yeah, Ravens are our last team. I think the Ravens, it's a defensive end. They lost Judon and Yannick Ngakoue, bless you, for absolutely nothing. So that's something they got to get better at, is the ability to get after the quarterback. Also, offensive tackle. Orlando Brown, their right tackle last year, moved over to left tackle when Ronnie Stanley got hurt. He got hungry. He said, I want to play left tackle now, so I want out of Baltimore. So they got to find a new tackle to replace him. And as always, I think the Ravens need wide receiver help. They've addressed it in the second and third rounds, but if one of these talented receivers falls to you, I think you could draft a guy in the first round and finally cross that need off for the long term. Because Sammy Watkins, with all the injury history he has, is not a number one wide receiver at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have the rapid fire team needs by JT. So we'll wait and see as we get into the next few weeks into some of our mock draft stuff, how it plays out. But, it's amazing this time of year where everybody starts to focus in on their one player that's going to solve their problems, right? That's what we're looking at. So we'll look forward to that. So you're excited for the draft. That's all that matters.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do think it's funny you bring up how every team gets enamored with a guy. It was only, 3 years ago, the Jets were like, oh, Sam Darnold's going to save us. Nah, throw away Sam. Like a kid when he grows up discarding a toy, grabbing the new shiny one. So we'll see if Robert Saleh can make this one into everything that Jets fans hope he can be.
Well, there we go. So, well, good. We hope you enjoyed our rapid fire team need thing. And we'll be back, like I said, with mock draft time coming up. So thanks again for joining us here on another edition of From the Couch. We'll see you next time.